Hi everyone, welcome back to the Rangers review. It is our post-match debrief after Rangers 3 St Johnstone 1, although Chris Jack, a day where talking points are more about what happened on off the pitch. It felt like it was a strange afternoon at Ibrox, whether that be the atmosphere in the first instance, the protest, the lack of songs from the Union Bears who were protesting, the reaction to the protest from other fans, and also the fact that Rangers' win was obviously insignificant in the course of the title race, which they've fallen out of completely in recent weeks, and the fact that there was a Patrick Stewart um, comments yesterday. So a lot to kind of talk about off the pitch and react to off the pitch today. How did you find it? Because were you kind of like me and you felt like at points you were watching a game of football, but you didn't really feel like you were here, and I can't remember Ibrox being like that. Is eerie's the word I used in a tweet? Is that fair?
I think it was quite a strange is
Yeah.
probably the word. No, we touch on this anger and apathy quite a lot. I think that was there in both. It just felt a bit weird. There's not a lot of barely any atmosphere at all. No, teams come out, game starts, and it's just all but silence. Like you mentioned, Union Bears, they're also having their own protest. The banners then, or the first of the banners then go up, and actually in the enclosure just below me at the far end of the gantry, there's a few key verbals between some fans. Obviously, some agree with the sentiment, some disagree. Some then decide to walk out after 55 minutes, some decide to stay, and it's just one of these. I felt like the support was quite fractured at times. I don't think we can say everyone. Now, I don't think we've ever said, to be fair, we mentioned this in our post Patrick Stewart interview or show yesterday, you can't say the entire Rangers support is for the manager, against the manager, for the board, against the board. There's this grey area in the middle, and I think this afternoon kind of summed it up. There's people that just want to come and support their team. There's people who are going to be a bit more vocal about it. There's people who will leave, people who won't want to leave. Whatever you decide is the best course of action for you, by all means take it. But I think as long as everybody respects like the wishes and the actions of their fellow fans, that's fine. But it did feel a bit strange. People were almost waiting for chance to start, or waiting for banners to go up, or waiting for 55 minutes to come, and the game was almost a bit of a sideshow. Thankfully, Rangers had it wrapped up within 25 minutes or so, and that took that part out of it. Because if the game hadn't gone in well, then it would be really interesting to see what the action would have been round about here. But that part of it was as straightforward as it could and should have been. Second half, football wise, it's a non-event, but as you say, in the grand scheme of things, it's a day where the big talking points are off-field ones rather than on-field ones.
Yeah, fractured is the word, and obviously people will protest in different ways. Some will want to ever, some will want to support regardless. I think while there's definitely an element of things being fractured, what isn't fractured is the fact that there is a real apathy, and I don't think that's a controversial thing to say, or anyone would really disagree with that. Even if you're just looking at this season in isolation, Rangers obviously came into this day 18 points behind. The news yesterday from Patrick Stewart, that obviously everyone will know by now, and we discussed yesterday, up fresh in the minds as well. And I guess before we actually talk about the football, the task is how Clement's side and Clement generally does, while the club back him presently, try to build a bit more atmosphere or engagement, or whatever it may be, with or without protests, or with or without the Union Bears singing. And Clement obviously spoke about that in his post-match press conference. Rangers have two more home games. Aberdeen naturally here on Wednesday night, you'd imagine, will carry a bit more spice to the game. Fraserburgh on Sunday might not, but I guess that's that's one of the thoughts I have coming out of today, is how do you shake that for the rest of the season? Because quite understandably, there's not a lot of hope in the air today, whether it be this season at the moment or just the overall direction in general, and that was probably reflected in the mood as well.
It could be a long couple of weeks, a long couple of months for everyone that comes here, whether it be for work or pleasure.
Yeah.
It's just going to be that kind of period. Now, we've been through that kind of period before. Seasons have been written off early before, but it's a long time since a season had been written off as early as this. I think even before a ball was kicked this season, people really didn't have a lot of enthusiasm for Rangers as potential champions. That has, of course, played out. It's a hard sell now for the manager. Now, what can he get out of this run? he's almost got himself in a position where only bad things can happen. He could go and win the next 9 or 10 games. If he doesn't win game 11, then you know exactly what the reaction is going to be, and that may sound unfair, it may sound harsh, it may sound to outsiders quite difficult to get your head round. Ultimately, that's Rangers. That's just the life here. You're judged on winning matches. You're judged on winning silverware. He's not won enough matches. He's not won enough silverware. Therefore, he finds himself under pressure. I know he kind of he didn't laugh it off post match, but he kind of dismissed the pressure question a wee bit, saying pressure. What pressure? My pressure is the away games and winning matches. It's fine saying that you want to win every game. Well, so does everyone that sits in these seats around us. But as Rangers have shown, that's a far easier thing to say than actually accomplish. The only thing he can do now is win as many games as possible and hope that there are enough signs to get people back on board. But I think, as we've touched on our various shows and as we've written on the site, once you get to that stage where you've been written off, it's a long way back, and it's almost impossible for a Rangers manager to win people back around, whether there's backing in the boardroom or not. It's a really difficult task. If he can pull it off, fair play to him. It would be quite something. But all he can do, without using no cliche, it is just one game at a time. He has to win as many games of football as possible. He needs as many performances as possible. And what impact that has on the fans, what impact that has on the mood run about the club, only time will tell.
Yeah, okay, let's talk a bit about the football, because tomorrow morning on the morning briefing, Derek and Johnny and myself are going to discuss the overall situation more, why the club have chosen to back Clement, why they're commissioning an external review, and on all the fallouts from that. The game in isolation, I think, without being pessimistic, if Rangers were to pick one opponent, it would be St Johnstone at home, and I don't mean that to discredit them at all, but they do try to play, again, not to be cliche, but whether that be, rather than just hitting the ball over the top to the strikers. And I thought that might be a bit of a worry for Rangers with Kim Pioka and Mackenzie Kirk's pace up against Robin Proper in particular. But St Johnstone tried to play. A couple of goals came from them kind of playing themselves into difficulties, and they also leave space. Rangers are a team who are much better attacking into space, and the 3 goals scored by Diamande, Cherney and Igaman, all within 25 minutes. From there, it kind of dropped off. The atmosphere obviously maybe played into that a little bit as well. But you go along with that it was the type of game Rangers needed today, because I think the atmosphere, if you're not 3-0 up inside 26 minutes, maybe it is different.
Yeah. I think if you are a side who come and you, like most opposition teams do here, if you were slightly better drilled, if you were more defensively minded, you could have really infuriated this crowd here. St Johnstone never really looked like that. Now, fair play, also Simo Valakari, he wants his side to play in a certain way. Whether it's good enough to keep them up or not, time will tell. But you can't knock a manager for having a style and wanting to stick to it. If they do, fair play. But they have to live or die by that style. Today, I think they were always going to die by it. Really played into Rangers' hands. Now, we spoke about the guys up front and the pace and how they can maybe get at Nsiala untested, proper, unconvincing. 2 of them cruised through the afternoon, didn't really look that troubled at all. St Johnstone never looked like causing problems. I thought they would knock more balls down the channels and ask their forward guys to go and chase it, try and stretch Rangers a wee bit. I thought they'd try and get in behind them a bit more, but they played a lot of the game in their own half, and as you say, they painted themselves into corners. Rangers pounced, took their chances well. Again, with a good finish, a great run of form. Journey gets another one to add to his numbers. Good to see Diomande getting one, probably long overdue in terms of him adding a bit more in the final third. So they're definitely positives for Rangers. The manager spoke about it. It really had dropped off in the second half. The intensity dropped off, number of chances dropped off. Dessers had a couple of half ones that can maybe done better with, but apart from that, almost the second half, certainly the last half hour, is a bit of a non-event.
Yeah, and aside from that, just to cover the press conference quickly, Clement spoke a little bit about the protest, kind of said what you'd expect him to say about wanting everyone to be united, said that the fan sentiment wasn't too different as to when he arrived. That's true, but I think to your point, for a manager to get belief and momentum behind him once is hard enough here without almost going back to the start. And I think Clement still holds probably a lot of respect, and people can see in European competition, people can see in big games that he's clearly a very good coach. The question is this a sustainable approach for the general run-of-the-mill games in the Scottish Premiership? And if it's not, then what's the long-term out of that? He spoke about the protest. He also spoke about Patrick Stewart's backing, said that he knew he expected he was going to get that. Interesting comment along the lines of, I felt like a I felt like I was on a desert, alone in a desert island.
Alone in the desert.
Alone in the desert, not on a desert island. I knew it was something to do with. I had
Something sand related.
I had like a Jose Mourinho. He was an island of personality, kind of in my head, which isn't true. Isn't the case. That was quite a revealing comment. I think we've heard him make those type of noises before. It's clear that at the moment, Patrick Stewart has chosen Clement as his man. Clement has an ally there. An external review starts with the Rangers football department tomorrow, and I guess that again feeds into why football is almost secondary for us today. And we like to talk about the football. We're not normally ones to duck that at all. But at the moment, I think everyone is looking at what's happening off the pitch and how is it going to impact things on the pitch, because Rangers can't stay where they are. But at the moment, there isn't maybe that strategy vision of how you get out of there.
Ultimately, the mood and everything around this club is dictated by what happens on the pitch. If Rangers are winning, everyone's happy. The board can say and do what they want to an extent, and it makes everyone feel so much better about themselves. When things aren't going well, as they have been for long periods this season, as they have been for long periods since I've started doing this job, that creates a very different atmosphere around about the club. It creates a different atmosphere around about support, and we know how that can then manifest itself. That's when managers find themselves under pressure. Clement is in that situation just now. As I touched on earlier on, the only way he can ease the pressure on himself is to win games. The way that Rangers as a football club ease the pressure on themselves is to start doing things a bit better at every single level. Again, we've touched on these points on a number of shows. We'll touch on them again once this review's out and we see what that looks like. But whether it be academy, something that he touched on his press conference regarding Bailey Rice, whether it's academy, whether it's scouting, whether it's recruitment, whether it's style of play, whether it's personnel, whether it's investment, there's so many things that Rangers have to look at. They have to be the best in every one of those areas. Right now they're not, and that's why the team and the club and the support find themselves in the positions that they are.
I think you've put it far better than I could, so we'll leave it there. We're going to be live right throughout the week, of course. Lots more football to come. Transfer window continues to roll on as Rangers look to add one or two before close of play. We'll be here on Wednesday when Rangers play Aberdeen, and then Sunday we'll see how many other people are here on Sunday when Rangers play Fraserburgh in the Scottish Cup. But join us tomorrow morning for the morning briefing. Thank you as ever for watching the Rangers review. Please subscribe for free on YouTube if you've not done so already, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.